And Kyle's here for Brutus Monroe. Today we're going to create this present theme slimline card. We're going to use one of our mixed media stencils, and this stencil is called All Wrapped Up. This is a layering stencil, meaning you have these backgrounds here to create a present, and then you layer the bow into its place. So you have a solid one here, and as you can see where this little masked area is, that's where your bow layer would layer into. Here it just has it like solid, etc. on the rest. So we have polka dots, we have little squares, we have that little diagonal, solid, for your gifts. You have two shape tags, and then you have the to and from and the for you. So these all coordinate nicely to create nice background, or you can cut them and so forth. We're going to use our candy coat with our stencil today. I have the colors in purple, teal, and yellow. The yellow I'll be using for our bow, and then the presents I will be using the teal and of course the purple. We're going to go non-traditional holiday card today, and so it would be fun to create a nice non-traditional pastel holiday card. So to go with our stencil, I have a piece of Not Your Mama's cardstock, and we're just going to go ahead and stencil on our present. So I'm going to do all 5 of these gifts onto that cardstock, and then I'll cut them apart. I went ahead and die cut some cardstock. I'm so sorry. I went ahead and die cut some cardstock off screen, and I have a Slimline card created from Not Your Mama's cardstock. So I found a purple in my stash that coordinated perfectly with the teal, coordinated perfectly with our purple candy coat, and the teal is close enough. The teal candy coat is a little slightly darker than the teal I had in stock, but it matches well enough. And then I have a piece of black cardstock. So those are all our layers for our card base. And then from Christopher Saying, I went ahead and die cut the word happy out of yellow cardstock. And I'm going to save this little scrap that I die cut that from, because I'm going to use that to stamp the rest of our sentiment. Here are the dies from Christopher Sayings, because it comes with a shadow, and I'm going to go ahead and use the shadow as well, and I use some of our vellum to die cut the shadow from. Please excuse my voice. I had a cold and my voice hasn't recovered from it. Okay, I'm going to be using one of our new stamps called Winter Cottage, and it has a sentiment that says Happy Holidays. I'm only going to use the portion that says Holidays, and I'll stamp that onto this little scrap of the yellow that we use to die cut our sentiment from. I'll use our Raven Detail ink to stamp that sentiment. I have my stick and stamp mat, which we'll be using today. So let's jump in. I have my cardstock placed onto my stick and stamp mat, and I have our stencil. I'm going to use some post-it notes to mask off any section I'm not using. Let's start off with some purple candy coat. I'm going to use that on the little polka dot part of the stencil here for this gift, and I just place them on and then scrape it through using a gift card. Save the excess and put that back into the little pot, while leaving my stencil in leaving my cardstock in place. I wipe off my stencil, and I'm going to use another portion of it. I'm going to move over here, and then I'm just going to mask off any sections I'm not using the same post-its. I'm just going to move along the cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and use again some of the purple candy coat through the stencil. It's pretty easy, and as you can see, the center does not get anything added to it, because that's where you will layer your bow through. I'm going to quickly do one on screen for the teal, so you can see how I just move across the cardstock from section or area to area. For the teal, I do the same thing. I place some of the candy coat and run it through using my gift card. So I'm going to continue this with the rest of mine stencils, and I'll do that off screen. And once they're dry, now they're completely dry, I'm going to go in with the bow section of our stencil, using again some post-its to mask off any area I don't want any of the candy coat going through. And now I'm going to use the yellow candy coat. Now it's quite thick, and that delicate stencil, you kind of lose a little bit of the shape, but it still works out. If I do this again, I think I will ink my bow through, but I still like the effect it gave me. So now, once my candy coat was all dry, I cut down all my little presents into little squares. Now let's go ahead and stamp the rest of our sentiment. I'm going to use that little scrap, and I put my extra stick and stamp mat, the one I use for stamping, in my stamping platform. I go ahead and line up my sentiment, and now I'm going to use some post-it tape. I'm going to cover up the word happy. I'm going to see if maybe this will help you see it better. Okay, I use the post-it tape to cover the word happy. I ink up my sentiment using our detail ink. I remove the post-it, and there you go. I stamp it down. I'm going to do it one more time. Post-it, remove the post-it, stamp. Because I'm only needing the word holidays. Now I'm going to trim down the sentiment. I'm using my tiny trimmer here. I'm going to just trim off down nice and thin, and I'll angle the little corner, the little edge. So I'm going to remove everything out of our way. We have the 3 little gifts we're going to use, and I'm going to bring in all the rest of the components for our card. I have my vellum background, which I'm going to adhere our sentiment to. So this is the die cut happy word, and I use, like I said, yellow to coordinate with our bow. I'm just going to use little tiny dots of Barely Art glue to adhere this to our vellum background. The sentiment cuts out in 3 little sections, but it's easy to line up with your background. I'm going to push that down, put that in my tray. For the holiday portion of our sentiment, I'm using some foam adhesive, some foam tabs, and I'll put that in our tray to save for later, and I add some foam adhesive to each of our little gifts here. So I'm going to choose to use 2 of the purple ones, the polka dot and stripe one, and our teal little diamond shaped design. So 5 little foam dots here just to get some dimension on our card. There's our last one here. I did all 5 designs, but I chose just 3 because I needed to have nice, spacing on our card. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and adhere all of our layers together. I place the teal onto the purple, and then the black will be our anchoring color here. And our presents will pop off of that because they have that white background. So my scallop background layer is way big. So I cut my card base just a little bit smaller, and then I adhere it. I just flip the whole panel over and adhere the card base onto that. So now I'm placing my gifts. I'm just placing them. I'm not pressing them into place yet. So that way, if I need to move them a bit, I can. I'm placing one of the purple on either outer side, and then I will place the teal one in the center. So I just remove the tabs, backing up the foam tabs, and then I place it on there. This way I'm trying to use my grid mat to line it up. I know I'm like 1 square in on each side, and about 1 square or square and a half separation between each of the gifts. Once I have everybody all settled into place, and I also have them just a little bit off the bottom of the black, so you have just a little bit showing. Alright, so now I'm going to adhere our sentiment. This portion of our sentiment I adhere straight to the card. I don't want this raised. I just want to adhere flat to the card, and the P's and the overlap just a little bit, but you don't even notice that too much because once I place the word holidays right over our P's, it just hide that a bit. Alright, and now our card is complete. Now I didn't put any extras on here. I just left it as that because that candy coat is shining so beautifully through. So we use our candy coat in yellow, purple, and teal, our new stencil called All Wrapped Up, and some dies, but I'll have everything linked in the description box below.